A very good afternoon to you. It is Thursday afternoon, and this is the Light Bite Lunch. I am absolutely delighted after a long, long time of trying to have Ireland's Queen of Comedy, June Rodgers, joining us today to hear. And we're going to hear a whole range of stories from June, which I'm sure will be most interesting. So for the next half an hour, pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax and enjoy a Light Bite Lunch. Well, June, it's an absolute pleasure to at long last to have you with us on the show.
Thanks so
Uh,
much for asking me. Yeah,
I know we were talking about it last year, and just schedules couldn't work out, and
I know.
you you were running around the place like mad,
Well,
working like
it's either
crazy,
a
as
feast
you've
or a
done.
famine in the business that we work in.
Well, I mean, what amazes me is, I mean, I'm trying to work it out, and I'm figuring that it must be roughly 30. You must be coming up on 35 years now.
Yeah.
um, touring with the shows, which is a remarkable, like for any comedian to have that longevity, it really is something special. But for anyone who may have been living under a rock or whatnot, who doesn't know you, why don't you tell us in a brief snippet, a little bit about yourself?
Me. Well, I was born and bred in Tala Village in 1959. Tala was very much a farming community, which a lot of people find very hard to believe. But it was, and we lived in the village. One side was the police station, the other side was the Garda station. Or sorry, the church beside us and the Garda station. So we had a very simple kind of a upbringing. Everybody was self-sufficient. My father was very much into the garden and growing vegetables, and we didn't have much money growing up, but we didn't realize that. We were kids, we were happy, we were well looked after. We used to sit on the wall actually counting all the red and blue tractors going up and down Tala Village, and there'd be a lot of cattle going through. As I say, it was a farming community. So we had some great friends next door, the Myers family, and we used to play with them. There was about 6 or 7 of them in the family. Yeah, so life was quite simple then. It was very neighborly, which it still is, but it's grown into this huge big city now at this stage. But like it was when we lived there, like you didn't shut the back door, you didn't shut the front door. You like you go to bed at night time, you wouldn't even worry about anything like that. Now times have changed, of course, but yeah, we had a very nice upbringing. I had, of course, my mum and dad and my sister Linda. And then from there, we of course went to school. And I ended up in St Patrick's Cathedral School in Dublin. My sister was the brainy one. That's why I'm still dressing up at 64 years of age. Uh, but we had good days in school and bad days in school. I was probably more interested in the fellas. Anyway, actually, Bono was in my class in school, but he wasn't as famous as he was then, which is great achievement for him, I must say. So yeah, that was kind of my upbringing up until I was around 18 and I got a job and I went to London and I worked in London for about 4 or 5 years. So I kind of grew up after that because at home I didn't appreciate my dinner being put up on the table or my washing or my ironing being done. My poor mother. But when you go away, you learn that you have to do these things. And I actually grew up a bit more. And great memories of London. I'm still in contact with people that I worked with over 45 years ago, if not more. Yeah.
I mean, I just see there one comment already coming in for you there, Geraldine, saying Fella was out in the country. It was a day's trip there from Santry when we were kids. And it's great to see you looking so well.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much.
So, your first foray as such into treading the boards was back in the time when you were with Fujitsu.
Yes.
And I thought it was very interesting because one of the interviews that I remember reading was you describing spending all day looking through a microscope at cells and then being starting off in the back row of the chorus and slowly pushing your way to the front.
Yeah, it was gas because yeah, we were working in Fujitsu and we were doing shift work. At that time we had moved to British, and I remember my father bought me a moped. You saw it stay to me, and there was always a shortcut to get back to British at night time. So you had a 7 to 3 shift in the morning, or you had a 3 to 11. And when you pass Jobstown, there's a little turn off to the left hand side. It's up by the old quarry, Mount Seskin. But you need to get a good run of that hill. And I was going up one afternoon after the shift, and a jogger actually passed me out. And a grand day, isn't it? He says, and I go, that's a grand day. And it was like me going up on a hairdryer, trying to get up the
Yeah.
top of the hill. But yeah, Fujitsu, we had great old fun in Fujitsu. I worked there for many years. And we used to have a song in the morning as well. Sorry about that.
No problem.
We used to have a song in the morning, like a Japanese song they would sing, and it was all about Fujitsu and joining hands with everybody and all this kind of stuff. This happened just before 8:30 every morning. But and I'm still in contact with people that I work with. I still bump into them. But yeah, they went in for John Player's Tops of the Town, and I'd never done anything like this before. So we went in for the crack, like so. Anyway, I was in the back row swaying for about 6 months. That's all I was doing. And as the years went by, they eventually kind of started putting the hands in here and there, and then the feet would start moving. But it was there that I met over the years. I met Tom Roach and Martin Higgins, and Tom Roach created a character called Jacintha O'Brien. I was doing a child character in the show, and then he must have seen me, or he may not have seen me, but he created this character called Jacintha O'Brien, and that's where it kind of took over, or took off. So
But
yeah, Jacinta became a household name after all of that.
yeah, well, it's not just Jacinta. I mean, don't forget Oliver Bond as well has
Oh
become
yeah, well,
very much a
Oliver was
household name.
later. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Desi Pierce that I knew from Tops of the Town as well, who was a great comic himself. He had done. He had written. Sorry, that's the dog. If you hear any banging around, she's brought something in from the garden. So I don't know what it is, but anyway, it's gone inside. Um, yes, Desi Pierce was a great comic, and he had written a bit about Bond. And then Martin, another writer I'd met during Martin Higgins, I'd met through John Player Tops. He then rewrote and created more Oliver Bonds for me to do as well. Yeah.
So, you then made the decision on the very brave move. Well, sorry. First off, you started doing then a few spots out in Clontarf Castle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was actually a talent competition came up, and friends of mine were saying, "Why don't you go in for it?" And I said, "I wouldn't have hope in hell." But anyway, I went in for it, and it went really well. And I got to the final. And the night of the final, Gay Byrne was sitting in the audience. Now I was unaware of this. Anyway, on the night, a band won, and I came second, I think it was. And then about a week afterwards, I was in Fujitsu, and the girl in reception said, "June, there's a phone call from the Late Late Show," and I went, "Yeah, right, the Late Late Show." And it turned out, yeah, there was Late Late Show, and they wanted me on the following Friday on the Late Late Show, and I tell you, it was the most nerve-wracking experience of my life. I thought I was going to die. I really did. I was petrified. But Gabe
Absolutely.
was so good and so kind to me over the years. That he'd have me on every now and again. Like I was on it all the time. Well, not all
Yeah.
the time, but I really, really, I have an awful lot to thank him for.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, you did for over the years. You became very much a regular fixture, and I still find it funny. Tommy Tiernan's very first night on the Late Late Show, and he actually commented on the night that obviously you were working if he got the gig.
Yeah, actually, his dad used to come to the show when I did my show in the Red Cow. His dad used to come to see me.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was gas. Absolutely. I met Tommy. Only met him about once or twice. Nice guy, I must say.
yeah, absolutely. If another comment has come in there for you, Monique, you have such wonderful upbeat energy, and she'd happily listen to you all day.
Oh, thank you so much.
Right, so
You want to ask me my husband the same question? He
I
has to
know.
listen to me all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, you've lasted a long, long time, which is something that is also quite unusual in show business. Like, one of the things I did want to talk to you about, a lot of people have this idea that people working in show business, it's all champagne, caviar lifestyle, and it's first class flights everywhere you go. I mean, the reality is, and again, having toured in the States in the 90s myself, I know the reality. And the reality is it's so different. And
It
it can
is.
also be so lonely living out of a suitcase.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. No, I think yeah, of course, listen, you look at TV and you look at all these big stars in America and you've got all these glossy magazines and it all looks wonderful and all that. But and listen, we have I think you have to really love what you do to continue with it because it is a lot of hard work.
Yeah, no, I get
You know,
like
even with me putting the show together, it takes months to put it together.
yeah,
And I don't
no,
have an entourage of people, you know what I mean? So like we finished on New Year's Eve this year. And only up until I'm talking to you today because it was about 2 days ago. This room is just full of boxes of costumes and wigs and all that kind of, and everything has to be washed.
yes,
And I'm the one who does the washing, you know, that kind of way. Now Trish helps me as well, but yeah, it's there's no magic room that you walk in and everything is there for you. You know what I mean?
yeah, no,
But
absolutely.
anyway, yeah, no, and it can be lonely. You know, it's great. People say, "Are you going away? And you're going to stay in a hotel or whatever?" And it is a luxury to go away and stay in a hotel. But after a few nights, you kind of think, you know, I want to be at home,
Yeah.
and I am
And
a home bird.
yeah,
Peter and I,
no,
like, are very much home birds.
absolutely.
We
And it
we
is,
don't go to the opening of a fridge door, as the fella says. You know.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. But as I said, the world of entertainment is particularly tough, and as I said, so many people see all the glitz and glamour side of it, whereas for the average working actor, comedian, etc., it's so different, and it's so much down to earth, hoping that there's enough coming in till the next paycheck arrives.
Well, this is it, yeah. And I think, you know, some people do get wrapped up in the whole celeb kind of thing. I suppose maybe because I just came into this by chance. You know, when I grew up, there wasn't dance schools or anything like that. You know what I mean? We were
Yeah,
sent out to play in the garden, and that was it. Um, so I think, and I was that bit older, so I wasn't into going to the opening night of this, that, and the other. I'd actually prefer to go another night when all that palaver is gone. You know, that kind
yeah,
of way.
absolutely.
And that's what we do. You know, I go out and I do the show and I meet, and I love meeting people and I keep in contact with people who followed me for over 30 years. But we have a normal life here, you know, because people say to Peter, must be hilarious living with her. But
Yeah,
sure, you wouldn't be going on like that. That wouldn't be normal, you know.
yeah,
We just have a
no,
normal life, a very quiet life, but we're happy with that.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm just going to take a quick break because I need to do a mention about this. While we're talking about the gala events, so we'll make mention of the Micro Business Awards. Nominations are now open. There are 14 different categories there, everything from food, entertainment, and those giving back to the community. There's so many different categories. I'm not going to go through them all and bore people now, but now is the time to get your nominations in. Nominations close on the 30th of January at 5 p.m. and then the hard work of the judges starts sifting through them and um, choosing who the finalists will become. The finals this year are being held in the Knightsbrook Hotel and Spa in Trim, and tickets are now available. That's for the 26th of October. Tickets are priced €90, and if you're interested, you can just email microbusinessawards@gmail.com with the subject tickets, and your invoice goes back out to you then with details of how to make payment and all of that. And it is a fabulous night out. It's a great night of networking. It's relaxed. There isn't a whole lot of ceremony about it. It is a very relaxed networking evening, and there's always a good bit of fun as well on the night. So hopefully we'll see entries in from loads of businesses. I can confirm, and I just checked it there this morning before we came in, we have now surpassed last year's total. There's currently 1,743 entries as of 10 o'clock this morning have been received. So the judges are going to have a very, very tough time this year. So do get your entries in now and tell us why you should be the micro business under the various categories. So, June, one question that every guest that comes on the show gets asked is their favourite light bite lunch. So, when you have time to grab something quickly at lunchtime, what is your go-to?
Well, I suppose lunchtime for us is like something light, as you say, a light lunch,
Yeah,
because we would normally have dinner. So my ideal, and especially on a day like today, would be soup and a toasty sandwich.
lovely.
And that's what I like. We have the George Foreman here, which is really, really handy. And of course, we love the out cheese, So you can't beat an out cheese. Or even actually, years ago, we used to put the bread underneath the grill and toast the cheese on top. So yeah, that would be my guilty pleasure, you know.
Yeah. So, when you're not writing for the shows or planning the shows or doing all the admin that goes on with the shows, what do you like to do? What do yourself and Peter like to do for downtime?
Well, as I say, we love our home. We live in an old cottage here in Fir House. It's about 125 years old, an old granite cottage, and of course, it came with a lovely garden. And we were very lucky because we're not overlooked at the back because there's a community college beside us, and a purchase order was put on half the garden before we bought it. Now the garden is still huge, so at the back of actually the wall at the back of our garden has a memorial. It's a memorial wall the other side for teachers and pupils that passed away. So at the moment, because we've loads of trees at the back, there's no leaves on the trees now. So we're now looking at the mountains. So like we're blessed to be here. You wouldn't actually think we're in the middle of a big basically housing estate, you know what I mean? Because we have housing estates beside us. But yeah, this is our little haven. We love our garden. We love our animals. We love we have a pond. We have loads of frogs who come back every year. We have a fox. We have hedgehogs. We have our birdies out there, which I was out there yesterday feeding them. We have the simple life, really. Yeah, that's what keeps us going. We rescued a little dog last year from the DSPCA, and they called her Taylor Swift. And Peter said, I'm just telling you one thing. I'm not shouting out Taylor Swift. Come back, Taylor Swift in the park. He said, I'm just telling you now. So we dropped the Swift and we kept Taylor. So she's quietly, and she's actually just arrived in with the insole out of his runner. So she's chewing that, and I'm not getting up to go try run around. She's a little miniature Jack Russell, and she's beautiful. And
Lovely.
so we're actually thinking of maybe getting her a little pal, rescuing another little dog so she can chew the other dog instead of chewing everything else in the house, including us and our shoes.
Well,
So we
as
do that. Sorry.
someone who has two, one was a rescue, one isn't. I've a lurcher who is coming up on 6, and I have a 2-year-old Labrador.
Wow.
So I
Listen, it's unconditional love. At one stage, we had 3 dogs, and just before COVID, it got to the stage that for different reasons they passed away, age or whatever. And it was last year. It was the first time in 27 years we didn't have an animal. And I said to Peter, "What do you want to do next year?" And he said, "I want another dog," and that's what we did. And
yeah,
that's our family. Now it is a huge commitment because these little doggies, need love and attention. So our life is revolved around her. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And we won't leave her. Like if we do have to go away or anything like that, we'll get somebody to move into the house. Like I couldn't put her into a kennel. She had a tough start in life,
Yeah.
cruelty and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, so
Oh, well,
she's
we
a bit of a diva now, I have to say.
yes. Well, we were away for Christmas, and we decided this year to head to the UK, and we spent
Lovely.
a long time searching Airbnb until we found an Airbnb that was happy for us to bring the dogs with us.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
When you see
But
where, even if we go away,
yeah,
we do go down to Wexford. We have a mobile down there, so of course we bring her down, and she's a few pals down there. She plays around with. But yeah, it's unconditional love. Yeah.
it absolutely is. And I mean, that is the whole thing about it. And I mean, over the years, you've done quite a bit of work with the DSPCA as well.
Yeah.
It's something that I know you've
Yeah,
always
with
been
the
very, very passionate.
DSPCA and My Lovely Horse and whatever charity I can help to, get the word out there. There's just so much cruelty out there. For the life of me, I can't understand it.
Yeah,
And I find
absolutely.
that I really do think that there has to be stiffer laws in this country, especially with puppy farms and all this. Like it's just ridiculous. People are just getting away with it. It's of course it's like everything. It's about money. It's about making money.
Yes,
But yeah, I get so annoyed when
yes,
I read things in the paper that people have what they've done and they've got away with it, that way.
yeah. No, I totally
But
do.
then there's so many wonderful people out there who are rescuing and minding animals all the time.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. As I know we regularly see advertised different courses in acting, in comedy, etc. I personally have very strong views on this, but from someone like yourself in the industry, is it possible to teach somebody comedy timing?
Um, I don't think like people have said to me, like, would you not set up like a school and teach this, that, and the other? And I said, I wouldn't even know where to start. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it was. Of course, everybody used to say when I was younger, "Oh, you're so funny." Now the teachers, I don't think found me that funny. But what I mean is, like, I wouldn't know how to tell somebody how to be funny. That kind of way.
Yeah,
A lot of it has to do, and I have to say, it's in the writing as well. And working with Martin and Tom, and there's a new guy that I'm working with now at the moment who does Funny Friday with us, with Joe Duffy, Declan Callis, and he's come on board now the last couple of years, and he's writing for me as well. So if you don't, you definitely need to have a good script as well.
yeah,
And I suppose with my comedy, I don't use language in it. There's innuendo and all that kind of stuff, and stuff that should go well over the young folks' heads. But I don't know what world we're living in now. Maybe it doesn't. But I would never go out and you know,
yeah,
and I'm not a prude by any means. But it's just I wouldn't feel happy about going out doing certain things or saying certain things.
yeah.
Um, but I know with working with Martin and Declan and Tom, it's about their comedy, the writing as well. And it's very hard. There's a lot of pressure on writers to keep coming up with new stuff all the time. And that now we've changed as well in the world that things that you could say years ago, you can't say anymore now. So it's getting harder for comics to actually, say things that you wouldn't necessarily think was offensive. But I think we live in a world now that people are offended very easily. Um,
I mean, let's
so
be
you
honest,
have to be very
we're at a
careful.
point where people are offended because you haven't said something to offend them.
Well, I think there are some people who are actually waiting to be offended as well.
Yes,
you
yeah,
know. But like it doesn't matter what you say, there's somebody waiting there to be offended. So yeah, so you just have to be very careful. Luckily, touch wood, I haven't had many,
yeah.
um, calls for, concern or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean,
so,
again, that is a huge credit to you that it is nothing has ever come back to the people have never come back to say, well, you're causing offense by this, that, or the other. That it's to your brand of comedy, and
yeah, well, you
again,
see, you might say something like could say something. There was something I don't know what it was. We said a few years ago. There was something in the show, and it was just totally something that you'd say every day, but this person took offense by it. Now, I went back and I said, I'm really sorry. It was never my, intention to offend anybody. And I do apologize if in any way you were upset. I still don't know why they could have been, but listen, you
Yeah.
don't know what's going on in people's lives either. That kind of way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We do have another couple of comments coming in there for you. Geraldine again saying pets are such great therapy. They don't care who you are or what you have. So I'm sure you probably agree with that sentiment.
Sorry?
Geraldine is saying that pets are such great therapy. They don't care who you are or what you
Oh,
have.
absolutely. Unconditional love.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Maggie loves listening to Joan. Too true about the world we live in.
Oh,
So
isn't that lovely?
yeah. So tell me, what's next for you? I presume work has already started on the Christmas 2024 show.
Well, I'm taking a break now after this one because we've only kind of locked away. Well, we have everything washed and packed away. It all has to be sorted out in the uh, shelter that we have down the garden. Um, but at the moment, we're just going to take it easy because last year was really busy because I started with Brendan with the series. So I was away quite a lot, which was great fun. I really enjoyed that. And then I went straight into the show, rehearsals and planning it. So it takes months for that to happen. So I said to Peter, you can sometimes it can take over your life. And I said, this year, I think we need to take a bit of time for us as well, because
Yeah.
Peter's not in the business. As I say, he's normal. So he's not in the
Yeah.
business. And even though I'm here, I'm not here because my head is somewhere else. So I
Yes.
said, what we need to do now is with Taylor and our little pal, please God, when she arrives, is that we take a bit of time and say, go for an Airbnb, do something like that, and get a bit of normality back in your house, into the house as well, and into us as well, instead of just thinking about the next thing. So I think the next couple of months, and anyway, this time of the year, there's nothing happening anyway.
Yeah.
And I pity anybody who actually has a show on at the moment because the nights have been so cold. A lot of people won't go out, and and a lot of artists will struggle this time of the year.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
no, we'll take her handy, and then I'll think about what's going to happen then this year, and God knows what will come in the door. If not, it'll be back to the pole dancing again. Yeah, yeah. I think I need a reinforced pole now at this stage.
Right. Well, Joan, we're very nearly out of time. So if anyone has a big engagement they'd like to book you and whatnot, the easiest way to contact you is probably through your website, which is scrolling across the screen
Yeah, of
there,
course. Yeah. Yeah. People just sometimes
JoanRodgers.net.
just want to send a message or anything like that. I'd love to hear from anybody out there. But
Right.
listen, I really do appreciate you having me on.
Right. And listen,
And
I appreciate you
listen,
managing to find the time to join us.
oh, not at all, not at all. And listen, please God, this will be a good year for us all. There's been lots of
Absolutely.
doom and gloom over the last couple of years, so please God, this will be a good one.
Absolutely. And Joan, if you can keep us all smiling and
I'll,
laughing our way through it, we
I'll
will
try my
certainly
best. I'll
we'll
try my best.
certainly be looking forward to it. So that's us for this. That's this week's show, ladies and gentlemen. And we will be back in 2 weeks' time with another guest, another chat. And hopefully you'll have time to join us too. Until then, we'll bid you all a good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye. See you.